Nice.
So this is Nancy Duncan with Duncan Hears, and I am very, very happy today to welcome a dear friend of mine and an icon in our area, really. A man that really doesn't need much introduction if you're from this area, but happy Hec Gauthier. And how are you today, Hec?
I'm great. How are you, Nancy?
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. So those who may not be from the area, Hec is one of our local icons on the radio, 1480 AM, WSAR. So tell us a little bit about how you ended up there and how long you've been doing this. Only a couple years, right?
Yeah, going back to man, a long, long time ago. Going back to 1965
Wow.
is when I
Wow.
started in radio, and fresh out of radio school, I landed a part-time weekend job at one of the local radio stations called Whale. They're no longer, at least the caller is no longer in existence, but the frequency 1400 is still part of the Bob and Jim Karam family,
Yep.
SARN WHTV.
Wow. So you were right
So,
out of radio school.
Yep.
Is radio school still a thing now, or do people go to school for
It is.
communications?
I think maybe not as big as it was back then. There are probably two or three radio schools, and a lot of the colleges. There's Emerson College is still very, very active and alive, and a couple of others. But a lot of the kids, many of them are just will go to college, and there's some courses being offered for the most part at some of the better colleges, and that's the way a lot of the kids are doing. But then again, technology has changed so much. It's
Yes,
not even. I mean, the social, the social craze is big time.
that's for sure. And now, when you started, was it turntables that you were working and
It
setting
was
records on?
turntable. That's exactly. Yeah. And we had these small turntables. We used to cue them up, cue the record up, and that's how. And back then it was when you worked 4 hours. You worked 4 hours on the radio because it was nonstop. With today's technology, it's a whole lot easier with computers and everything. But back then, you had something called almost like an 8-track cartridge.
Oh, wow.
That there's a single track, and you used that to play commercials, to play music in some cases, to play promotional announcements, and and you had something called a cartridge machine. You probably back then most stations would have back in the '60s probably 4, maybe 5 of those, and you would you'd be putting in a song and then getting some and then going here, going here, going there, so, and sometimes because you needed to use one of the cartridge machines because you got so much going on, you'd stop the tape and you'd put something back in there, and then many times you'd forget to recue some of that stuff, and you'd have a bit of silence there, but it was part of the pack. You learned pretty quickly. It was
Would imagine.
amazing what you could do back then. Yeah,
Yeah. No, I know for anybody who's
and there
out
was a
there
lot of reel
listening,
to reel also. Yeah,
reel to reel as well. Wow. Now, for anyone
yeah.
who's out there listening that doesn't know, have known Heck for a long time as the voice on the radio, obviously, who gave us school cancellations and all that good stuff when I was a kid. But I've had the pleasure of working with him on air. And I think one of the most amazing things, because you demonstrated it one morning for me, was the talk up. When the music's playing, but words aren't happening yet, and you can time it perfectly, and it's amazing. How long did it take you to master that?
With practice, and sometimes you still screw it up, but in practice, it doesn't take very long. You just have to try to focus and be ready for the next element, and you just go from really one segment to another segment and then after you do it 20, 30, 40, 50 times, you got it down pretty well usually.
Yeah.
Until something happens that something unexpected happens, and then you have to kind of adjust and go to your next element. And but it's something that and it's different obviously in a lot of professions other than radio and then maybe TV, because you are adapting and adjusting maybe a little bit more than most practices, I would think.
Right. You're doing it on the fly and in the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah, and
Yeah.
sometimes these days a lot of stations they pre-record a lot of stuff, and some of the jocks are not even live. I mean, they're it's all done with the computer.
Right.
And
Right.
they're, they're doing the IDs and doing the one-liners and the promotional stuff. And in many cases, so the days of lots of local, particularly local radio, were kind of dwindling away, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that there's some fun and there's excitement in that element of the live portion of it. I mean,
Yeah.
because we never really knew often where the morning was going to take us.
Well, particularly with you.
Me?
I never knew what you were going to say, but that was kind of the fun of the whole thing, right?
Funny thing
Yeah,
is, I never knew what I was going to say.
yeah, we had a good time. It was
Yeah.
good.
So talk to me about what drew you to this field way back when. What made you say that's what I want to do? Because it's got to be something that keeps you going after all this time and on the
Yeah.
shift that you do. It's just not
Yeah,
an
well,
easy
you
one.
do a shift, but over the years, I've done a whole lot more than maybe that's helped me keep going. I graduated from high school and not sure what I was going to do next, and I got sick with pleurisy and some lung ailment along with that, like a double pneumonia.
Oh, geez.
And as I found myself in bed for about 6 weeks,
Oh, wow.
a little bit in the hospital and then back home. And in recuperating, I started listening to tons of radio
Hmm.
because back then TV was mostly soap operas, at least during some of the daylight hours, and except for morning news and that kind of thing. So I listened to New York radio, Boston radio from Philadelphia, local radio, and I got kind of intrigued by the whole thing, and I kind of liked it. I said, yeah, that'd be kind of fun to do that. And so I thought about it, and I when I got better, I ended up going to work in a drive-in restaurant just to make some money and decide what's next. And my grades were not very good. I'd have a tough time getting into a college. I probably would have needed to go to a community 2-year college or something like that.
Right.
And but I late in the summer after that year where I was sick, I looked around. I said, "There's got to be schools, radio schools," and so I found one. And there were about 3 or 4 back then that were really pretty good. And this place was in Boston, and it was called the Leland School of Radio, TV, and Theater.
Oh, wow. Did they teach vaudeville too back then, or no?
Did I what, please?
Did they teach vaudeville back then too for you?
Yeah. Well, they did go back a lot of years, and so they were teaching TV, radio, and a little bit of theater, and so I decided, let's give this a shot, and I did, and so I spent 2 years there, did pretty well, and that's how it kind of all started. And
Now, have you been doing it steady ever since, or have you had breaks in your career doing other things?
Any breaks? No, a little bit of a break in probably the late 70s. And then that was pretty much it. And I've been pretty much on the radio since 1965. And I've spent most of those years local.
Hmm.
I worked about a year and a half in New London. And I worked in, where was that? Weir, Massachusetts. That was
Where?
a location. But yeah, Weir? Yeah,
Where?
W-A-R-E. And it was, it was when I the first job I got, I was part-time, and they didn't have any kind of openings for full-time after summer fill-in. So I ended up going looking around, and I found this place in Weir, W-A-R-E. It's a little town near I'm trying to think of what are some of the towns there. I just can't think of any
Is
of
it
the
like in
neighboring.
the Athol area up there?
It's in Western Massachusetts, not
Okay.
too far, kind of between Springfield and Worcester, and it wasn't much of a place. I was only probably 19 or 20 back then, and there was very little to do in Weir, and there were
That's
like
shocking.
two restaurants. That was it.
No
Wasn't
stoplights.
very- But I was doing an afternoon show. It was kind of fun. And so I was there for the Great Blackout of the New England Blackout back in 1965.
Oh, wow.
And that was quite an experience. I know that's way before your time, and I'm not sure you've heard about the blackout, but the entire Northeast went into a blackout. Everybody lost power for probably, I'd say, maybe a good 10, 15, maybe 20 hours. In some places,
Oh,
even
wow.
longer. Yeah, people were stuck in elevators, and it was a
Oh
complete
gosh.
crazy thing. And it went up to, I think, as far as north as Canada.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yes, I was there for that. And then eventually, I came back for Christmas. So I lived up there because it's quite a ride. It's about an hour and a half to go back and forth. So I stopped by the first station that I did summer work for, and they had an opening for a copywriter.
Mhm.
So I decided, let's give that a shot. And so I went in and talked to the owner and the manager and the program director, and decided, yeah, let's go for it. So it was really my first full-time job.
Yep.
And then I spent from, let me see, I stayed, it was called Whale, and your dad would remember the radio station. They used to had some image of a whale atop one of the buildings in downtown Fall River. That's where they were located.
Oh wow.
And
I always thought they were in New Bedford for some reason.
you think it would be, but yeah, the downtown Fall River. Yeah, it was WALE, and they were around, I think, since the 40s. And I stayed there till the late, about 1977, 1978,
Mhm.
and wanted to expand my horizons a little bit. So I ended up taking a programming job in New London.
Oh wow. Okay. I never realized you went out of
Yeah,
state.
yeah, and I did that for about a year and a half, and programmed as an AM and an FM, and I had a pretty good time doing that. And
Yeah.
that did not work out because they were changing. They were beginning. I think they were looking at a format change, and so they wanted maybe somebody hipper or younger or what, maybe both.
I
So,
can't imagine anyone hipper than you, Heck. I mean,
yeah,
come on.
no kidding. So at any rate, so I left there, and then I came back, and locally I ended up working at WSAR, and stayed with SAR till 1989. And then Bob and Jim Karam decided to buy the station Whale,
Mhm.
and back in 89. And so I ended up working with a couple of other folks in putting together the station.
Oh wow.
Right from the ground floor. I mean, we had nothing. We had
Just
a couple
starting
of
over again.
studios, and we had to, develop everything from sales kits to programming. And I mean, it was it was an experience. It was really a challenge. But we got it on, and we became, when we signed on. This would have been in 1989. We were up against, now I'm at Whale, and of course my former station SAR were kind of competitors, so that became kind of a fun event. And then we, back in 1992, we Bob and Jim Cam decided to buy. They got worked out a deal with the folks who owned WSAR.
Mhm.
So I'm back in Somerset at WSAR, one big happy family again. And we became the first duopoly in the country. Meaning that
Duopoly?
they owned 2 AM radio stations in one market.
Oh wow.
You couldn't do that before 1992. And as a matter of fact, in October of 1992 to be
Okay.
specific. And so that was kind of a kick. And then I've been since 1989, been with Bob and Jim Karam, and with SAR since 1992, right up until 2022.
Wow.
and
Wow.
and here we are.
And
So
you've
it's
worn many hats. Is there a job in radio you haven't done?
oh yeah, I was general manager, I was production director, copywriter, sales, promotion. I mean, I've done pretty much everything. I even have a little bit of engineering under my belt there
Right.
someplace.
Have they sent you up the towers yet?
I didn't climb the towers, but I did in this. One of the experiences I had was helping to set up equipment, and I remember putting up. We had these units they were called Marty units, and you needed an antenna, and we were doing a remote broadcast. I don't know if you're familiar with the old Frito-Lay building, or it used to be the Quality Factory outlet, and I'm not sure if it's an apartment complex now. At any rate, I needed to get a tower on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
So it was about 5 stories up,
Oh gosh.
and I found a ladder that I was just able to just make it to the very top. with a very little. Yeah, that's your face. That's exactly what I was feeling. Oh my
I'm
God.
sure.
What? Oh my! And I don't even know how I did it. I'm right. You do crazy things, and here I am, five stories up with this antenna in my hand, and
Just waiting for lightning.
barely had something to hold on to and get on the roof. And finally, I was lucky. I found a place to get back down again through. I think I jumped about 10 feet to get down from one little building to another little building without having to come back down again with the limitations of the ladder wasn't all that I guess good for the job. And I was saying to myself, I don't know if I want to do that again. That wasn't all that much fun. But I've done 1,000 other things.
So hopefully at that point, your lovely wife, Maureen, had life insurance on you as you
She
climbed
did,
5
she did.
stories.
Yep. I'm not even sure I've ever told her about that.
Well, the cat's out of the bag now.
Yeah. Like, are you crazy? Heck yeah. I think I was kind of, so, you did a few of those things, and we had a lot of other crazy experiences, but it was good. And I've been very lucky to meet a lot of great people. I've been so fortunate and having fun with you, Nancy, on the air. I think we were 3 or 4 years, I guess.
I think 3 years, and I got to give you a lot of credit. I did that crazy schedule of 5 to 9 a.m. for 3 years. That's all I could handle. You've done it for a lifetime.
I don't know how you did that, because you were doing your other job too, right?
Well, yeah. Then I'd go run my business till about 6 at night. But
yeah,
I got the opportunity to work with you. I mean, it's like working with Mick Jagger.
My God. But it was fun. We had a good time, and I'm still having a pretty good time. How long I do this for, I have no idea, but I've been lucky, blessed with some fairly good health, and I'm local, and it's easy, and it's kind of fun. And I met a lot of great sponsors, a lot of great people, a lot of great folks in the community. So
what's the most memorable thing that sticks with you after all these years?
I don't know. I mean, I was lucky to get a couple of nice awards along the way, and one was from the Mass Broadcasters MBA, getting the Broadcaster of the Year, which was kind of a kick. And then over the years, we won a ton of awards for some of the documentaries we put together. So that was kind of fun. We got a first place award for coverage of the Notre Dame church fire.
I remember that.
We got a first place award for coverage of Bill Clinton when he came to Kennedy Park in Fall River. I'm not sure if you remember that.
No, I don't.
That was probably I'm gonna guess in the 90s.
Oh, I might have been in Arkansas then.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So a lot of that stuff, but it's just been kind of fun. We just continue to roll along and get we've still got a lot of great listeners, and so it's been a kick. It's been fun.
Yeah. What is your most memorable on-air thing, good or bad, that happened to you?
Oh God, there's probably a few of those. I'm trying to remember. When I first got in the radio, I remember working. I was at Whale Radio, and it might have been second year I was there, and the place wasn't the best facility in the world. We actually were in kind of a talking about a ground floor radio, but it was almost like a cellar, but they dressed it up a little bit, but it was never a great place with just it needed a lot. And one time I was in the studio, and I'm hearing what seems to be like shh, and I'm wondering what could that be. So I'm looking around the studio, and I happen to look down on the floor, and I see what is, I guess, could be described as low tide in the studio.
Oh no!
A broken pipe from the men's room.
Oh no!
Leak. Yeah, and water all the way into the studio. So now, when the studio was just. It was just not well designed, and it was just they put a lot of stuff together, but wiring everywhere.
Oh geez.
So I'm even under what we call the console, underneath the console, a lot of wiring even there.
Yeah.
So here I am. I'm on the air,
and the show must go on.
So I just and I think I might have had some either some boots or rubbers or something at the station. And so I went to put those on just so I didn't get fried.
Right. During a commercial break, right?
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, it took a while to get it squared away, but we stayed on the air and I just kind of plowed through. But that was a memorable time. When I was at this would have been Whale also back in 1978, the blizzard of 78. I was there at that station for that huge storm, and a lot of years ago. You probably heard about it, I'm sure.
Oh, I was young, but I remember it. I was 5 or
You remember
so.
the blizzard of 78? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was, I fortunately got home okay from the radio station. And I remember this on a Monday. And then following Tuesday, there's no way you could get to the radio station. It was just insane. It must have been like 3 feet of snow out there. So I called the police department and I talked to somebody I knew there. I said, is there anybody riding around? Is anybody on one of the main thoroughfares that you can even get by? And he said, yeah, I've got one of my guys is going to be, right near your place in maybe about 5 or 10 minutes. So here I am. I'm in my skivvies. I'm not ready for anything. So I rushed like heck, get dressed, and I grabbed, because I knew that the guys were working there overnight. I knew I was going to bring some milk and some donuts and some muffins and whatever. So I've got these 2 bags. I had no idea what it was like outside until I got outside. So I'm running down the porch steps and I missed a couple of steps.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. So I could hear this interesting noise, like as I ripped 3 tendons in my ankle.
Oh no. Did you still get up and go to the radio?
So I know I'm outside. I picked everything up that I dropped, I think, whatever I dropped. And then, so I had to decide, am I going to make this happen? So I did. I just kind of hobbled my way to one of the main streets, Robeson Street.
Yep.
And I did manage to touch base with the police officer. He got into the car, and then he dropped me off on Bedford, and then I still had to climb like 2 more blocks to get to the station from the bottom of Bedford, But I'm not thinking about it too much. We just went on the air, did a lot, and then it wasn't until later on that night, about 8 o'clock or something, I looked at my foot and my leg, and you could see where the bleeding had happened, and you could see it coming all the way up my left leg. And I said, maybe I better have this checked out. So I did. It was about 9 o'clock at Charlton Memorial. I go, oh my God. And so they said, well, unless you're going to play sports, maybe you're just going to have to wing it. It's 3 tendons that you ripped there. Apparently ripped it, did a pretty good job. So that was an interesting little adventure. I remember that. Yeah.
That reminds me of a story. Like, when I was a kid, I had to walk barefoot to school uphill.
Yeah, one of those.
With 3 shattered tendons.
It was almost one of those. But anyway, I know your question was anything other. I mean, there's so many great stories, and we used to play jokes on each other, in the early days of radio. These days, you're probably not able to do a lot of that because
of that's why I'm my own HR department.
I bet you could tell a few stories along the way as well, right?
I think one of my funniest stories, because I still laugh to this day, and it's people are going to think I'm terrible, but I have an issue where if somebody falls, I can't even make sure they're okay. I have to laugh. And I was reading a commercial live on air, and I look up just in time to see Hec ever so gracefully go down off his chair.
Okay. I remember that.
A professional, which I might add I am not, would have kept reading, and the show must go on. I literally lost it laughing. And then he pops back up and goes, I could have been hurt. And it made me laugh even harder.
I
think you ended up having to go to commercial for like 3 minutes because I couldn't pull myself together.
That was so funny. Yeah. You were.
Thankfully, he was okay. No tendons broken.
It was kind of funny. He was pretty. I remember that. Yeah. And I remember I didn't hurt myself. I think this chair just slid out from under you or something. Yeah. That's happened a few times since then. I didn't fall on the floor, but I came close a couple of times. Yeah.
I'm glad I wasn't there for that.
Yeah. Whoops. All right.
That's okay. Your screen just went off, but I can still hear you. There you are.
Yeah, I've got My phone is saying, "Hey, battery."
What was your most interesting interview you've ever done? Because you've interviewed almost everyone in the area, politicians, interesting folks. I mean, what's your most memorable interview?
Yeah, that's a good question. I talked to quite a few people. The guy who was on Law and Order, and I can't even think of his name, one of the original actors. As a matter of fact, I think he's coming back to with a new version of Law and Order. Met
Sam
him at
Waterson?
huh?
Was it
Yeah,
Sam Waterson?
yeah, Sam.
Okay.
And so I got to meet him at the Battleship. He was one of the special guests. They had these special summertime events, and they'd bring in some pretty big names. And he was pretty gracious. And I said to him, you're a great actor, and I love your work. I said, but part of me is just kind of tired of seeing you. He went, what?
That sounds like something I would have said. Heck, that's a line right out of my book.
What do you mean? I said, my wife has watched about 7,000 Law and Order episodes.
Yep.
I think she spent more time watching you than we spent the last few years together. He said, obviously, it was too funny. He said, obviously, she has better taste than you do. Goodbye.
Good day,
So
sir.
I interviewed Andy Rooney, which he was kind of a kick.
Oh,
from
really?
CBS. Yep. And well, we've interviewed a couple of people, particularly in the morning show. We had some pretty good interviews. We interviewed who did we interview? Batman was kind of fun.
Oh, really? Which one?
Yeah, the original.
Okay.
Yeah. And but I mean, over the years we've had some pretty good guests, and I'm trying to think of some other names. So those are there's a couple that just kind of occurred to me now.
Yeah. I mean, I've always admired the fact that you've been on air as long as you have, with little to no controversy. You've always kind of been middle of the road, been so sweet and nice to everybody.
For the most
That's
part,
amazing.
yeah. I mean, it's probably a side that you haven't seen.
No, well, I mean, they don't know what we say off air. I mean,
Oh yeah,
that's a whole nother
what I'm
ballgame.
talking about. Yes, no, I'm kidding.
I mean,
But
you did
yeah,
radio before the dump button too.
I've been lucky. You're right. I've been very fortunate. Yeah.
I mean, because that can't be easy to do with how long you've been out there, and when you're in
Well,
the public eye.
I don't do a lot of, I don't do a lot of regular talk shows. I fill in once in a while,
Mhm.
So, but I'm not doing that day in and day out. And that's where really you can find some enemies and find some people are not too thrilled with what you're doing and what you're saying.
Mhm.
And so that's not necessarily an easy job. It's a tough job.
Yeah,
And so,
absolutely it is, because you have to be polarizing at times.
yeah. And you just can't, you can't take it too much to heart, but you are going to get, if you're doing talk, you're going to have people who just don't like you. I mean,
Yep.
they can't stand listening, or don't like your views, or don't like what you're saying and what you're doing and how you're doing it, but
Have you ever received, because I know, I mean, like I said, I did this 3 years, and I remember receiving a letter at the station. Somebody did not like the way I said the Braga Bridge, because they said when I did the traffic, the way I said it, I had to use the full name. It was just funny. I have a thick skin. I thought it was hysterical.
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
ever get folks that write in and say, I don't
Yeah, I
want you to
get
stop doing this?
a few of those. Yeah. I forget nothing crazy, but I've gotten
Yeah.
a few. Yeah, you do. How can you not? It's impossible.
I remember
You'll say-
meeting a person, them saying, I hate your laugh. I'm like, thank you.
I
Okay.
love you. It's you have a very adorable laugh. You do.
Oh, they
Yeah.
didn't think so. No, they didn't
No,
think so.
Well, anyway, it's been a good bunch of years. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
And, I have to say, I really appreciate you taking time out to do this, because you've spent your career in life interviewing everybody. I thought it was about time somebody interviewed you.
Well, it was nice of you to do that, and thank you. Now, what's this deal with you and the podcast and all of that?
So we decided, folks I work with for my company, and they knew of my background that I had with you, my limited time on air. So I'm barely considered airworthy, but I'm not a professional, said, why don't we utilize that? Because I do miss that component of being out there, and, I can talk, it's the thing.
Yeah.
And so we decided, I wanted to, with the pandemic going on, and I don't know if you've noticed this. I know in my being customer service, you notice that it's either brought out the very, very best in people or the very worst. And there's nothing in between. And so I really wanted to shine the spotlight on the very best that we have to offer here in the South Coast, because we're often overlooked for Boston. And we're kind of just ignored in the state of Massachusetts. So I'm trying to find those interesting characters, organizations that we have, and just different things that spotlight who we are, because we're a very unique part of Massachusetts, and I want to shine the light on that.
Well, that was kind of nice. That's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's kind of
you're
idea.
one
So
of
you,
those interesting characters.
yeah. So you're going to be doing this like on a regular basis, almost on a monthly basis, or
Yeah, we're getting, because we're
weekly?
podcasting, it's different. You're kind of recording them ahead of time and they go out there. So we're going to get a cluster of them done and then start doing it on a regular basis. So we have something
Yeah.
that's out there regularly. So, I'm so happy that you can be part of the first few that I've done. And
Well, that's great. Thank
this
you.
has been great. So any parting words for us? Anything you'd like to say, Hec?
You hear what I hear. Now a little plug for Duncan. I
You
want to
still
wish
got it,
you the
guys.
best.
You still got
I
it.
want to wish you the very best. And I'm sure you'll do well. You're doing great with your profession. You got what, 3 locations now? How cool is that? That's good.
Yep, we're growing. And, I a lot of that has to do with, 1480 WSAR. Patients still come in and say, I remember you on the air. When are you going back
Oh,
on?
no kidding.
So
No
I owe a lot
kidding.
to you as well.
Yeah, that's good. How's the coop doing? All right?
He's great. He's great.
Yeah.
He's getting, if you want to feel old, he's driving. He's out there right
Oh,
now
no
with his
kidding.
learner's permit. So
Kidding.
I think
No
he might have
kidding.
been 1 or 2 when I first started with you. So
Yeah.
been
He's
a long
so
time.
cute. Yeah. I know Andy's doing well. I see him on Facebook once in a while.
Oh
Not
yeah,
too.
he's not a social media guy. But he's doing great. He's working at the
Yeah.
brewery, still loving life. So
Okay.
yeah.
Good.
How's your
Good to hear.
family?
Good. Everybody's great. Everybody's
Good.
good.
Everybody
Yeah.
healthy?
Everybody's healthy to some extent. You always have a little stuff going on as you get older, but we're okay. We're hanging in there pretty well. We've been lucky. We didn't get COVID, thank God.
Same here.
But,
Thank God.
yeah.
Thank God. Yeah. I don't know about you. You might be getting older. Heck, I am not. I refuse.
You look great. So great to see you, and great to hear you.
So, well, I really appreciate it. I've been chatting with Happy Hec, who is still on the air every day, every morning, 5 to 9 on 1480 AM WSAR, the mighty SAR. And, thank you to Jim and Bob Karam for having you come on as well with me, because I owe a lot to them too. So appreciate everyone there at the station. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Nancy. You take care.
Thanks. Yep.